A stat I heard when I first started was that if you took half of the food that was thrown out in our country, you could feed everybody. If you took
Mm,
just half of what we threw out as a
mm,
nation,
mm, mm,
you could
mm,
feed
mm.
everybody. You know the history here. Like we know that America's a land of abundance, all of those things, founded right here in Philadelphia, right?
Right.
The reality is there's all this abundance, but we're not able to really connect that abundance often to the people that need it.
Mm. So I just want to give people a practical learning point and takeaway right here, right now. If someone is saying, you know what, I'm that person. I'm the person throwing away the lettuce when I think it's a little wilted. I'm the person throwing out a quarter of the jar that we didn't use, so on and so forth. What what should they practically do in those moments, right? To be of help to that one third again who are food insecure.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them to kind of think about that and kind of take a step back and like how are we what are you purchasing? What are you ordering?
Mm,
Purchasing and ordering more. Like your habits. I might ask you to be a statistician and know all the data, but if every week you're throwing out that lettuce, maybe buy it every other week as opposed to every week. I don't know, like that's what you could do. So I
yeah.
definitely think differently about how I purchase. I think differently about how I order in restaurants. If I
Mm,
know I'm not going to, eat as much, could you cut back? So people could do that. But the other thing people could do is also, I mean, part of this issue, part of the challenge of food insecurity is about kind of there being abundance and kind of not connecting it. The other reality is it's also an economic issue, right? It's a
yes.
mathematical issue, right? And so we're finding that people just don't have enough money to make ends meet. Um,
Yes.
James, we especially saw that over the last year when we saw inflation that
Yeah.
hit everybody, right? So we remember what was it about a year and a half ago, gas prices, right?
Yes.
And then inflation. Remember, everybody's talking about how much eggs cost, like with all of that went up. And so if you are making minimum wage or barely making ends meet, and you're trying to deal with kind of how do I get myself to and from school? How do I pay for childcare? How do I take care of my kids? How do I feed my kids? On like this money you have, even if you're trying to work hard, it gets smaller and smaller when inflation is it.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
so I think the other thing, kind of reminder for us, particularly for Hunger Action Month, is some piece of this is about people having enough money. And what can we do as a society to help people? Piece of
Hmm.
it would be absolutely how do we as food banks take what people are donating, food and funds, getting it in the hands of people? How do we talk to government differently and say, government, there are different ways that you could provide supports to people. And so
Yes.
a big thing that we're doing this month is calling on government to say we need to provide supports in a way that we really can help people.
That's good. That's good. And to your point, I think everyone, despite where you are finding food prices to be shocking. When I check out the last few times, I look at my basket. I'm not filling up a whole cart, and when they tell me the price, excuse me, right? You're just trying to understand it. And I've seen a lot of people make those posts recently of, I just spent $100. Look at what I have. Like
That's
I
right.
can't I can't justify or understand or wrap my head around it. So I think it's an ongoing topic we have to address. The one thing I want to underscore too is you highlight nutritious meals. As soon as you add the word nutritious to it, I think the number goes up a lot for many people. Talk about what you're trying to do in that space.
Yeah, James, I'm so glad you asked me that question because here's the thing. We've just gone through and we keep talking about kind of this COVID moment we were in. So I started in June of 2020 here at Philabundance. So we know what the world what was happening in the world. COVID hit our most vulnerable communities harder, right? So folks, didn't have good nutrition and kind of healthy foods for years. Then if COVID hit them, it hit them hard, right? So we were in the midst of a global health pandemic, a racial awakening, an
Mm,
economic crisis. And so we said we need to operate differently. So we developed what we called our good food policy. Through that, we challenged ourselves, kind of has four parts of it. We challenge ourselves first and foremost to provide more nutritious food to people. Interestingly, it's what people want. When families get the opportunity, and I would say whether they're like defined as, anywhere on the economic scale, right? People would when given the opportunity will make healthy choices for their families. And so we challenge ourselves to provide more nutritious food to people. That's more fresh
mm,
fruits and vegetables. It's healthy, it's lean proteins, it's healthy dairy. So that's first. The second is culturally responsive because the reality is if you go around this region of Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, we're very diverse. There are people
yes.
from all kinds of backgrounds, from all over the world, all kinds of cultures. And so we want to make sure the food we're providing is culturally diverse. And therefore, it reflects the flavors. It's both nutritious and delicious for people.
Yes.
Another piece is that we're challenging ourselves to source our food equitably where possible. And in some cases, we have government dollars for this. We're purchasing from local farmers, minority owned, women owned farmers where
Mm,
possible, right? And the last is really access. And that's thinking about when and how the food still people get the food. You asked me about our partners. I was visiting Upper Room, as I said yesterday. People are lined up around the corner. They're coming to work
Mhm.
every day to get food. Other partners are making their hours open in the evenings because families are working.
Mm. Mhm.
Others are delivering. We're doing home delivery more and more, especially for our senior citizens, right? And so we're also thinking how we access it. So we're nutritious food, culturally diverse, equitably sourcing it where we can, supporting kind of local businesses, and then making sure that we're providing access to the food in the way that makes sense to our neighbors.
Yes. No, that's good. That's so good.